Hey, so oftentimes people think divorce is just from a marriage, and the reality is that's just simply not true. So today we're going to unpack the myth around divorce and the other areas in life where this really can impact you. So my name is Brenda Lee, and I am a divorce resilience coach and an executive coach, and I also do team leadership development for companies in a very unique way. And so what I want to express to you today, though, because oftentimes people have asked me, like, how do you go from coaching divorced people to executive team leadership? Well, here's how. The bottom line is all of the coaching, all of the basis of it, it's all the same. It's all about getting people to operate at their peak potential. And when you've established and developed a methodology that works, that is proven to get people into that space, like I have, you can apply this toward any area in life at all whatsoever. And so my divorce clients kept having this aha moment where they were like, oh my gosh, this has nothing to do with my divorce, right? And I'd be like, yes, right, you get it. Like, my work here is done. And so they started referring me to non-divorced clients, right? Who had gone through, like in some cases, through retirement, where they're standing there with their hands empty now, highly successful career going, what the crap do I do? Maybe they got handed a severance package. I had a company or a client from a multi-billion-dollar company that everybody had in their household and got handed a severance package after 14 years of being a prominent employee there, and it devastated her. And there was some shift there that we had to work through in order to get her to her identity and to the other side of losing this thing, a divorce of this company that she had. Okay. And so it's not just a marital thing. And so let me just step you through real quickly the other areas where this can happen, right? Where empty nester syndrome is another one, where you've been, even if you've been home or you've not been home, where you're faced with this reality, any kind of situation that causes some separation in your identity, where you're standing there saying, oh my gosh, who am I? When you have kids at home for so long, and then all of a sudden you don't, you're standing there saying, what the crap? Now what do I do? When I come home, who do I cook for? Even if you're married, right? It rocks you and it alters your inner dialogue with yourself of who you are and what your purpose is. So rediscovering that purpose is what we get my clients through when they've entered some kind of major transition in life. So really, we could call divorce a major transition. But the reality is you're divorcing some portion of yourself that you've integrated yourself with, whether it be another spouse, and now you're maritally getting divorced, whether it be a company, whether it be a business partnership that you had with somebody, especially if it's family. If those go south, you're not just divorcing the family, generally speaking, but you're also divorcing the business that you may have been your baby, that you may have poured your heart, blood, sweat, and tears into. And now this is now no longer a part of you. And there's a grieving and a mourning process that happens when you go through something along those lines. Okay. And so my famous one that my favorite one that I like to talk about is a midlife crisis. People often say they're going through a midlife crisis. And quite frankly, I don't think it's a midlife crisis. I call it a midlife awakening. You've probably heard some of my training on what I call a conditional gap. We've got social conditioning, parental conditioning, school conditioning, and religious conditioning that we are infiltrated with when we're tiny. We are programmed how we're supposed to think, act, behave, look, dress, communicate, all of it. We're told how to be. And what happens is that conditional gap, it literally creates a gap of who we were created to be with now how we're living. So when you're behaving in a way that is living in a way and talking in a way and communicating in a way that everybody told you had to be, the classic example is like for parental conditioning, when your parents said you should go be a doctor, it's a great career. You can provide well for your family, yada, yada, but maybe you want to be an artist. And in your core, you're really creative and you want to go express yourself that way, but you become a doctor because it was the right thing to do. And it's what your parents said. And I know that's the case for me. I have a computer programming degree and I laugh and I joke and I'm just like, well, now I just reprogram people's brains. But the reality is I freaking hated that degree. I hated it. I didn't like it during school, but my dad had told me that this is going to be a great career path. And he was right. He wasn't wrong in that. It would have been a great career path had I loved it. But I freaking hate it. I mean, listen, can anybody who knows me for 5 minutes, can you picture me behind a computer desk programming all day long? No, like my whole passion is for people and people's hearts and getting them activated to be who they're created to be. You can't operate at your peak potential unless you're being who you're created to be, right? Okay, so when we close that conditional gap and we start peeling the layers off of all of these, the parental, social, religious, and school conditioning that you've been programmed with, we start unpacking that. We deprogram and tear down that programming that you've been, that's going on in your subconscious, and we get you closer and closer and closer into alignment with who you're created to be. So that's the reality of a midlife crisis, is that you're peeling back those layers and you're having a midlife awakening. You're discovering who you were actually created to be. But the challenge is people don't have the skill set or the tools with how to peel these layers off. So they do sex, drugs, rock and roll, Las Vegas, prostitutes, fast cars, motorcycles, whatever it takes, right, for them to feel alive, because they're pining and hungering to be activated into their authentic space. Because all their life, they've just done the hamster wheel and done what the system has told them to do. And they've woken up and they've realized, holy shit, I don't want this the rest of my life. I want to be who I'm created to be. I want to feel alive. I want to tap into my passion. I want to give the world the best of me, but they don't have the skills to close that gap. And so that's what we do here at Marital Leaders, is we close that gap for you as an executive, as a leader, so that you can operate in your optimal performance. So the midlife crisis is the other avenue, if you will, for a non-marital divorce, where you're now divorcing that conditional gap. You're divorcing that identity that everybody else created for you, okay? So I just wanted to unpack that for you. I get a lot of questions about that, like, well, how does this happen? How do you go from divorce to executive coaching? How is this all connected? Well, that's how it's all connected. Nothing in life is just a black and white deal. And the reality is too, is that our personal life and our professional life are integrated. There's no way, we're too complex of human beings. We're absolutely, there has to be a holistic approach. And that's what's unique about the approach that we take with Marital Leadership, is that we step in and we deal with all aspects of the human being, how they interact with themselves first, and then how they can interact with each other. Because again, you can't be operating at your peak performance unless you are authentically stepping into your space that you and only you were designed and created for. All right. So if you want to continue to watch our videos, make sure you subscribe, click the bell to get notified when we upload new videos, and like the video for us so that you can see more as we continue to grow. Thank you.